Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Keeper's Corner Podcast. Matt and Brandon here. Bittersweet weekend. We get to recap two wins, and we get to also complain about teams that should have won just not showing up.
Didn't do their job.
Let's start with the positive. Utica won two final games. 9-4 Saturday night, 6-3 on Sunday. And in doing so, got to 10-14 on the season, but fell short of the playoffs, unfortunately.
Not only did we win them, we won them in a dominant fashion. I mean, for both games, we led pretty. We had a pretty decent lead at one point or another. I mean, with the Tacoma game, we were up 6-1 at the half. While, the Chihuahua game, I think the most we led by was 6. Sorry. No. 4. Sorry. 4.
Your math is really good.
Numbers are hard, okay? We didn't even hit 7. Sorry.
Are you the league statistician? Is that why everything was screwy last week and we weren't sure if we were even in the playoff running or not?
Listen, you caught me, okay? That is my night job.
I'm going to apologize in advance to anyone listening if I make a couple gross sounds. Spring allergies and my sinuses have collided, and it is not the prettiest. But I'm going to go Jordan flu game on this, and we're going to have a good podcast.
Is that what you call this?
Sometimes, maybe.
Every once in a while.
It is a podcast. Is it good? Well, it's
debatable.
Yeah. But Saturday night, let's start with that one. Tacoma comes to town for the first time. Utica hasn't played them since making the drive down. I don't know if they played before that when they were in Syracuse. And it is a 9-4 drubbing. Like you said, it was a 6-1 lead at the half. Nate Bordeaux with a hat trick. Cigar and Moy both with a brace. Do you have a stat that tells the story?
I think I'm just going to probably go with I don't know. I have two that are I kind of look at, but just because you probably want one at some point, I would assume, right? I actually have 3, but I'll just go with the fact that you literally just said it. 6-1 at the half. This was one of Utica at its finest. Granted, it wasn't, top tier team. This wasn't like a Florida or a Ontario or a San Diego or something, but this was Utica being the Utica that we've come to expect over the past 2 years, 3 years, just about basically 3 seasons, 2.5, whatever you want to call it. So, this is what we've seen against like Harrisburg back in the day. Every time we would go against them, or a Rochester, this was just, this was, as you said, just a drumming, just a beat down. And we kind of let off the gas towards the end, but definitely that 6-1 at the half is just that's my stat. Honestly, that just tells it how it is.
Well, I needed a stat that told the story. It is.
What, you got to find it? Did you not do your homework?
No, I had it, and then I went and checked another page. Andrew Coughlin standing on his head with a 750 save percentage. A vintage Mr. Stretch performance.
That was one of them.
12 saves on 16 shots. Just that's the Andrew Coughlin that we've known the first 2 years in Utica and really hadn't seen until these last couple weeks here this season.
I mean, do you just want to claim that one now because it's the exact same for the next game?
Well, we can wait and reuse it. They're two different games.
Well, no, I'm saying you could just say, you could just claim it across the board because it's the exact same stat for both games. You might as well.
Well, maybe I will get to it. But
the only other stat that I was going to mention was the fact that we capitalized on a power play. Again, this time we had a 100% rate. We actually were able to capitalize, well, on the one, but on all of our power plays.
Albeit it was a penalty kick, which is quite helpful for those.
Look, penalty kick, power play, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. My play that changed the game actually happened a week previously. And that was Nick Pereira pulling his quad. Unable to travel. They kind of sent the B team. Tacoma was eliminated after losing that last game against Chihuahua. And you can knock that, you can hold that against Utica, but look, you can only play the teams you're scheduled to. You can only play the players that are healthy, as anyone that played Utica through the middle stretch of this season would know.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
And it's important to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. I mean, and that's something Utica hadn't really done except against Baltimore or against Harrisburg to start the season. Whereas I was going to say Baltimore, let me double check the standings. But, okay, so it wouldn't have mattered. But if Baltimore had not dropped 2 to Harrisburg, they would have only won 1 point out of 4th place, which, if you play a couple more games and win them instead of not playing them, unfortunately, Sundays was a massive outage beyond their control.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They were already eliminated, so it's not like they had anything to lose or anything to gain from this game. But, I mean, you still want to show up to compete and not just, write it off. Even though it is kind of a write-off, let's be honest here.
Well,
you still want to be competitive.
Absolutely.
And, utilize a chance to get your guys in-game time, which is what they did. They got their B team some playing time, which was fine. I mean, Again, they had nothing to lose, nothing to gain from this game, and it was just kind of a morale boost. Let's be honest, for Utica. It really was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that brings us to Sunday, where we get another B team.
I was going to say, I didn't have a stat that tells the story, or not a stat, a play that changed the game, to be completely honest, because Utica was just in good form all day, all game. There really wasn't any play in the game to really highlight. They all played exceptionally well.
Yeah. As for Sunday's game, you want to talk about a play that changed it. I think it was just the first goal of the game. Tim Goldman. I know we were playing Chihuahua's B team. But then he got that, Price is Right, you're the next contestant, come on down, high five line going down the beer garden. And somehow I knew at that point we weren't losing this game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Utica was here to play.
Mine is not that one.
Okay.
As much as I would love to give it to Tim, don't get me wrong, love Tim to death. I would love to give it to him, but it's not that one. Mine is the Ronaldinho takeaway, breakaway goal in the third when I knew they weren't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you looked at the Tacoma game the day before,
right,
they started coming back end of the third, beginning of the fourth, and through the fourth. But Chihuahua, once it became 5-1, I didn't see them making that up. Which, I mean, we did go scoreless for 25 minutes. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. No, we scored one more time, and then we went scoreless for about 25 minutes. 20 minutes, roughly. So, that may have had me a little bit nervous when we hadn't scored since, 5 minutes remain, or, I'm sorry. We went 10 minutes scoreless. I'm dumb. I'm not reading right. Sorry. It had me a little bit worried, but I was very happy. Actually, no. You asked about a stat that tells a story, didn't you?
No, I went with the play.
Okay, never mind. I kind of have a stat, but I'll tell you about that in a minute once you get your play.
I guess I gave my play. It was the Tim Goldman.
You did. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just
take your stat? Yeah, go for your stat.
My stat, even though it has nothing really to do with this game in particular, 9 games straight. Joey Tavernisi. 9 games straight, he scores at least 1 goal. He did it. I said he was going to do it, and he freaking did it. Or at least challenged him to do it. Said, we got 2 more, and he did it. 9 games straight with a freaking goal. And he was the last goal of that game. He made sure he got it in there. It was the last goal for the past 2 games. Yeah. Actually. He was the last goal against Tacoma, and he was the last goal against Chihuahua. He made sure to make that statement.
And the last goal against Florida to win the game.
Yep. And I loved seeing Peter Pan come back on Saturday. It was Saturday. This whole weekend blended together. Seeing the Peter Pan hat come back out was great.
Yeah, and speaking of Joey, let's briefly talk about that story that the MASL put out on April 1st.
Yes.
Which, I mean, incredible story. Terrible day to release it.
I had to read the entire thing, to be fair. I didn't, because of the day, I literally had to look for the words April Fools or something just to make sure that it was a legit story. I mean, it seemed way too serious to be a joke, but at the same time, I've had worse. I've had, people have done worse. And yeah, it was definitely eye-opening, I guess you could say, about Joey.
Yeah. I mean, for those that haven't read it, it mentions, in 2020 when he was playing for Florida, some personal things in his life had him. I mean, he doesn't name it, but he's dealing with depression. Clearly.
Yeah.
And
are we all?
No, this was before everything went sideways in 2020. The league was still going. January 31st, he woke up and found out that he had a small stroke in his sleep, which caused him to go partially blind in his right eye. And he still deals with it 2 years later. So,
yeah.
I mean, to lead the team in goals and points, knowing that, I mean, incredible season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But back to Sunday's game.
Yeah, a little bit of a segue there.
Yeah, look, that wasn't a good segue.
No.
That was awful.
But, I mean, it was still good to touch on.
Yes. I guess my stat that tells the story is the fact that Chihuahua pulled their starting keeper with the final quarter to play.
Yep.
Not saying they're conceding at that point, but it lets you know that they made the wrong choice and they're not trusting him anymore. And anytime you see a keeper not finish a game for any reason other than injury, it can really tell that story. That playing time for a starter is a big.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely was, seemed to be off their game. Mm-hmm. Which, again, compared to what I expected from this game, it was actually I was pretty close with my prediction, wasn't I? I just realized that. I'm pretty sure it was either 6-3 or I think I said 6-4 both days, if I remember correctly.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I have to go back and listen now because I know one of them I said 6-4, and then I said that it was going to be the exact same both days, and I was like, no, it doesn't sound right. I got to change one of them. And I swear, if I change this one and I had said 6-3, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be upset with myself. You never change your first answer. Remember that, kids. You never change your first answer.
Yeah. Maybe next year I'll keep track of everything and we can go over at the end and see how bad we all did.
Do better.
At that point, Utic's got their 2 wins. They're flying high. They need St. Louis to lose to Kansas City in Kansas City. And they needed Ontario to lose to San Diego in San Diego. But if the first one at 5 o'clock didn't happen, it didn't matter.
Yep.
So the game's over. You guys head over to 72. I go on over to the jersey auction. So quick note for anyone wondering, the 2 highest selling jerseys at $750 were Christian Cigar and Tim Goldman.
No real surprise there.
Joey Tavernese came in third, I believe $650. Whew. Yeah. There's some good money dropped.
I was going to say that's another good one though.
Yeah. Had the game on my phone, join you at 72, and unfortunately that St. Louis game did not go the way that any of us hoped or expected.
It went okay for the first little bit, and then Kansas City said, "Nah, I don't want to. I'm done. I give up."
Kansas City is kind of stumbling into these playoffs, but they play Dallas, and Dallas didn't come in much better. So
no, they really didn't.
I'll just say that series is going to be a toss-up in my mind.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I mean, it could go either way, really, with those two teams. But yeah, Kansas City really dropped the ball for us, and yeah,
especially because San Diego took care of business in a game that they really didn't have to do anything with.
Yeah, not by much though. Like they didn't take care of business by much. I mean, they only beat them by 1, and I was somewhat afraid that they were going to. I thought with the final score, I'm like, oh wow, did that go to overtime? Because if it did, then it's like that again wouldn't have mattered to us.
Yeah.
Or it would have mattered because I mean that would have kicked us out. If it went to
overtime, it would have been over anyway.
So I mean, honestly, I would have rather had it where both of the games didn't go our way instead of just the Kansas City one. Because honestly, I kind of figured San Diego was going to beat Ontario.
Yeah.
Sorry, Philly.
Yeah, crazy to sit here and think, looking back at that mid-season point where Ontario just demolished us, and now both teams missed the playoffs. And one of those teams in the Fury is the only team to beat San Diego this season, and it happened in overtime.
Yep.
And we might have gone to overtime if some refereeing had been appropriately done.
It's honestly still crazy to think about that we were even in this position.
Oh yeah, 2-10 at the midway point, and I'd written us off.
Yep. Like most everyone probably had.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, honestly.
So it's a testament to the coaching and the drive and determination of this team to turn things around and go 8-4 in the second half after just a first half where they looked lost most of the time out there.
Yeah. I mean, the players brought it back. The coaching really, helped to buckle them down and keep them going. And I mean, towards the second half of the season, we really got to see I felt we got to see a fire come back with Coach Hall. And I mean, we saw him we saw him get a couple of, we saw him get at least one yellow card, which
it's not in the book. So I think he just got a warning.
It's not in the books, but I don't mean just that game. I just mean in general. I mean, he really was firing back, and we love to see it. Like, that's we as fans feed off of that. Like, I know we were cheering him, egging him on a little bit. Not that he could hear us from where we are, but in our minds, we were egging him on, and it was pretty great, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, quite the turnaround. I'll have more stats for a show in a couple weeks. Didn't really compile anything. Kind of just, looked back on the season, and I mentioned this on the Twitter account. It's a season of what ifs in my mind. As a player, as a coach, as a front office, as an owner, you can't live by the what ifs. But
no,
what if there
absolutely. All right.
I was gonna say, what if there hadn't been visa issues, and we had Diegues and Toby the entire season?
And
what
Zuniga.
if? Yeah, and Zuniga. Yeah. What if we hadn't all gotten hit with COVID, and you could tell that sucked the energy from the team for 3 weeks?
Oh yeah, at least. I mean,
I'd argue longer on Coughlin because.
Yep. I was gonna say we didn't really see him, I guess, break out of his shell, if you will, and stop, because he was playing cautious for a while. Let's be honest. We could see it, but those last 2 games were just, I mean, that was vintage, like you said, Mr. Stretch. And, it wasn't until that point that we really saw that, where he's just throwing himself in front of everything, diving for anytime that he felt like it was close, just diving for it, going, stepping in front of everything.
What if Thompson hadn't gotten injured after the hot start that he was on?
Yep.
What if Moy hadn't gotten injured? What if when Lucio came back, he hadn't gotten it? Like, just so many what ifs. Well, I mean, if Diegues is playing, do we even make that trade to Florida? I don't think so.
Probably not. I don't see why we would have, to be honest. But then we would have gotten the mustachioed menace.
I know. Like I said, it's a lot of what ifs for us as fans. And it kind of sucks. Because, that happens in sports. Things occur that are outside the control of the team.
Yep.
Especially the number of injuries. You can't really, especially the contact ones. Like, you can't plan for those. You can't train to not tear an ACL. I don't know. Just on the one hand, wow, what a great second half. And on the other, so much potential that never got reached.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to think about is the only reason that we were necessarily in the situation we were in, where we absolutely had to win those last 2 games, was because we did so poorly in the first half of the season. It's really what it boils down to.
And that's not a position you want to be in ever.
No, it's not. And so, I mean, literally, if we had won one more game, we'd be in right now, actually, I think.
Yeah, if that Milwaukee game where we lost in the final 10 seconds or whatever.
Yep. So, again, more what ifs. More what ifs that, we look back on and, what if? But now it's just gone and done. It's season's over for us, and we can only watch.
Yep. We saw some good rookie appearances there. Q really made an impact.
Absolutely. He still could work on his ball control, though. I had to give one critique to him. He's fast. But
same with Ronaldinho. They're both very fast. A little better ball control.
I was going to say Ronaldinho had some really good ball control. I mean, we saw that with that breakaway where he was able to score. I mean, that was...
Now, if you can do that consistently, that's something to watch out for.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I did throw a few stats together here. Nothing crazy. But
I was gonna say, I just had to, before you say that, I just had to bring up Rafa.
Oh yeah,
Like Rafa, freaking little menace. I loved it. We all loved it. He was up in everyone's face this season. At least, once he really came into his own, he was
I was gonna say we didn't like him. We didn't like him on Rochester for the same reasons we like him on Utica.
Yeah. No, he was a great little menace. Definitely, absolutely loved it. Every time he wouldn't let players breathe, and we fed off of that. We loved that, and he caused some good things to happen. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned the injury issues and visa issues and trades and all that stuff. There was like 28 to 30 guys on the roster at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
5 of them played in all 24 games. Can you guess who?
How about a yes or no after each one, just so I can at least...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Bordeaux.
Yep.
Tim.
No.
He did not. Which games did he... Oh, no, that's right. No, he didn't play in all of them. Beginning of the season, he didn't play. He was out. I remember as soon as I said that.
Yeah, because he came and talked to us and said, when I'm not playing, he'll sit with us. But then he played every game after that.
So yeah, I take that one back. Because I realized it as soon as I said it. I know Vitali didn't play all of them because he got his red card.
Right.
I know Jake, I don't think played all of them.
He was close. He had 23.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a couple. I know he at least missed. I know he missed something.
He missed the one in Ontario.
That's right, because we needed him to cover Taiyu.
Yes, that's when we had Blackwood covering Taiyu in his first MASL game.
Yeah, that did not work out well. I know it's neither one of our goalkeepers because Wilkin took all of Harrisburg and Coughlin and a lot of the first half of the year. So I know that neither one of them played all the games. I'm literally trying not even to look at the names. Did Joey play all?
Joey did play all 24 games.
Okay. Let me think. Oh boy. I'm still. I know. I'm taking a minute to try and guess, but I'm really trying to figure this one out. Like,
you got 2 more. One's a midfielder. One's a defender.
I was gonna say, was Ben out?
Ben did not miss a game.
Okay, I was just thinking that. So one was a defender.
There's your defender.
He was the mid. Ben was the defender.
Right.
So a midfielder.
You will not guess the midfielder.
I won't.
No.
Well, let's see. Let me run down the list. I know it's not Christian because he was out. Boy, wow. I'm trying so hard. I have the roster right here on my other monitor, and I am trying so hard not to look at this screen because I want to guess it. Midfielder. I'm assuming not a rookie.
Wrong.
Yeah. But wait, it is a rookie.
Yes.
Wasn't Rafa, was it?
Nope. No, he only played in 7 games.
Okay. I give up. I got 4.
Quentin Swift.
Okay.
Yeah. The rookie with the most impact among the rookies, played in every game. Your points leaders. Your points leaders also happen to be your goal leaders.
I was gonna say I don't even have to guess on number 1.
Joey with 19 points. 10 goals.
Yeah.
Sorry. Joey with 29 points, 19 goals, 10 assists. Cigar came in third with 15 and 8. 23 points total. And Nate Bordeaux, the co-captain, in second with 25 points, 17 goals, 8 assists.
Nate definitely. I was going to say it has to be Nate, just because of how many again, how many goals he got.
So he had 2 hat tricks.
Yeah, I was going to say he definitely brought it this season. I mean, you look at our roster, and the first ones that you think of as being our leaders, our goal scorers for the season, you immediately think, it's going to be Moy, it's going to be Christian, and then it's kind of a toss up from there.
Mm-hmm.
But completely different than what you'd expect, except for Cigar. Cigar is still on there. But I at the beginning of the season, I never would have expected those two to be the top.
No.
But the fact that they stepped up as much as they did it just shows how much drive they had for this season to make it work.
Yeah. Your assist leaders, Joey with 10, which this is an area I think we need to get more of, guys that can create for others. And then tied for second are Bo and Jake with 9. And then there were a handful of guys with 8. So although it took them until the second to last weekend to get a goal, Schindler was dropping assists throughout the season.
I mean, Schindler was doing his job, though.
Yeah.
He's not a opportunity maker. He is I'm going to take the ball back, and you're never going to get it away from me. That is what Jake does, and he does it well. Yeah, you look at him, and he's, we've seen people try and push him around, and it's not going to happen. We've seen many people try, and all of them fail.
Mm-hmm. All right. Here's your blocks. In third, Jake Schindler with 12. In second, Domenico Vitale with 13. Boom goes the cell phone.
Stop breaking stuff.
And in first place, doubling up on Vitale, Ben Raymond with 26 blocks.
Woof. As I know some people, I won't name names, were very critical of Ben this season because he wasn't scoring goals.
Right.
But he prevented a lot of them.
Yeah.
He definitely, he's a defender. He's not there to score goals. He's meant to block goals, and that's exactly what he did. Hence the stat.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How the amount of difference there. That's just crazy.
No, it was a fantastic year for him defensively.
Absolutely.
So that playing with San Diego on a championship season helped him both physically and mentally. I argue that's the best season we've seen out of Ben since coming to Utica.
Without looking at the stats, potentially. But again, second half of the season, you could just see all these guys just starting to really get into it. The one goal that we saw from Ben, that freaking strut, with the
Conor McGregor.
Was it the Florida game?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, the Florida game. I need to be more confident in my answers. I know what I'm talking about. But that strut in that game, just so good, so good. I don't know. All these guys have so much character to them that getting to know all of them, most of them. There's a couple of them that are still on the hit list to really get to know. But all these guys they played their hearts out the second half of the season, and it was awesome.
All right, so I got 2 more stats that I'll cover quick. Shot percentage, minimum of 12 games played. Joey Tavernisi at 284. Tim Goldman, 241. Nate Bordeaux, 236. So that's something that we got to work on next year. Better shot selection. We definitely, remember that from the first half, and it was just letting it fly whether you had an actual chance or not. How many went right at the keeper?
I told Tim I want to see double digits next year.
Well, depending on what the roster looks like, he might get a shot.
Yeah. No pun intended.
If you get rid of that 12-game minimum, the leader with 3 games played is Kevin Blackwood, 1 goal on 2 shots, 500%, 50%.
Yeah.
Godoy shot 400 over 7 games. Thompson shot 300 over 7 games, and Wanalava shot 250 over 9.
Okay.
And then penalty minutes, which last year or 2 seasons ago was a toss-up between Coughlin and Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
We only had 2 players go over 10 penalty minutes for the entire season. 15, Domenico Vitale. Can you guess? Can you guess who beat him with 17?
Well, I had already seen who drew the most fouls for our team, but fouls are not penalty minutes.
Right.
Because the one that drew the most fouls was Bo, with a big old 41.
He was on pace to break that 2 years ago. I remember looking at that because he was at 38 through 20 games.
So, I don't know. Just gimme.
Quentin Swift.
Okay.
He there was a lot of tripping and boarding, and yeah, he found himself over there in the sin bin quite a bit this season.
17 minutes, 6 blue cards, and yellow. That dirty tripper.
Yeah, those are the quick little stats. Obviously, I'd like to put something more in depth for a future, better look back comparatively, looking at where we are at the end of this season versus where we were when the 2020 season was cut short.
Yep.
I guess there are really only 2 other things I was looking to talk about. Three other things I was looking to talk about this week. That was playoff predictions. Just for teehees and ha-has.
Ha!
First round, I got San Diego sweeping the Wave. St. Louis getting swept by Florida. Although those games could be a lot closer than people think just because Paolo's back in that.
Yep.
Kansas City and the Sidekicks, like I said, that's a toss-up. I think it goes KC's way in the mini game.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just going on experience there.
Fair enough. It depends on which Dallas shows up, in my opinion. We've seen 2 different Dallases all season.
We've seen 2 different KCs since the second half of the season.
And it's fair enough. So it depends on which one shows up for which game, which season, which team.
Yeah. They're both very, like I said, it's very much a toss-up. And then you've got the Blast in Chihuahua, and because Chihuahua has home field advantage, I think they win this.
Yeah. We've seen, like you said, I believe it was maybe last week, or maybe we said it in just talking, that, we've seen a different team in Chihuahua at home versus away.
Yeah.
Like, big difference. And, maybe it's the field, which, they might actually like the Baltimore field.
Right.
It might be closer to home for them. But
that one's probably going to be decided on who can travel.
True. Who can travel for Baltimore down there? Very true. I don't know. I would think that the team would have their affairs in order, but you never know.
Yeah. Just go ahead. Let's hear your quick picks for this first round.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm just going to say this now. I see San Diego taking it all the way. So, I mean, so obviously I take San Diego over the Wave.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that Chihuahua is going to most likely beat Baltimore. Again, I think I honestly I feel like they are just going to be, again, that home field advantage is just going to make a big difference for them. Mm-hmm. As far as sidekicks in the Comets, I really think it depends on which team shows up for who. You know, if the sidekicks show up, then they can take that series. But the same thing goes for the Comets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually just going to go with the sidekicks, just because, you know, we've had, I guess, history with that team, you know, with Mooj, and I don't know, I like them better. Okay. Plain and simple. Okay. When it comes down to it, that's I just like them better. And then the Tropics, I think they take it against the Ambush. I mean, yeah, we beat them, but I don't know. I see them taking it against the Ambush. No real trouble there. Mm-hmm. Honestly. I don't know if any of them necessarily go to a overtime or anything like that, but at the very minimum, definitely, you know, those are my picks.
All right. The other second thing on this list to go over, we mentioned it last week and said we would get back to it this week, and that is the first MASL Pro Player Combine, which will be taking place in Mesquite/Dallas, Texas, from October 20th to the 23rd. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, you know, the first chance for coaches and front offices to get a look at players who will be draft eligible in the coming season.
Yep.
From my understanding of it, they'll be doing groupings, and then, you know, they'll cut players after each day if they don't see enough out of them, I believe. Hold on, here it is. So for the combine, put together a tape, send it to the league. They'll be vetted and reviewed by the MASL office. No cost. If a player is accepted and receives the official invite, they'll be notified next steps, obviously 18 or older. Cost details will only be sent once you receive the official invite, which really kind of sucks that they're putting it on the players to go to this combine. Instead, you're going to put this on and then not cover stuff for them.
Yeah, it doesn't really make that much sense, does it?
You know, they're going to make you pay for your hotel, which it sounds like they're going to be splitting rooms. So half of a hotel room for however many days you're there. Cover your food and your uniform. And you're responsible for your transportation. Yeah. You can't rent a bus or two?
Apparently not. I mean, come on, you know this league.
Yeah. There will be a cut after the Saturday morning session, but they'll provide the hotel and food through Sunday.
I guess that's not too bad then.
It'll be a 3-day combine, Friday to Sunday. And each participant will receive a full uniform, which will include a MASL white jersey, a black jersey, and a pair of shorts and socks. Coaches will be there. And the draft will take place that Sunday at 3 p.m.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and if they put it up on Twitch for people to watch. Like the NFL Combine's huge.
Yeah, see, that would be entertaining to watch. I would definitely do that. Because then you get, just that idea of, what next season could look like for some of these teams.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and that is, would you like to tease our next episode? That's a lot of silence.
Trying to craft it without giving it away.
Don't miss next episode. There will be a current player on chatting with us. You can either leave voicemails can't really ask questions if you don't know who it is.
We just say it then?
Might as well.
No.
So before you say that, I do just want to say I did have someone actually come up to me and ask how, about interacting with the podcast. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, it's a podcast, so I can't, there's not like a call in and stuff. If you're listening, you can absolutely call in. It's just not a live call in. It is a voicemail. And if you ask us any questions or anything like that, we can address them on the podcast. But I don't remember the number or anything.
No number.
Like that.
It's right on our website, anchor.fm/Keepers Corner Podcast.
Perfect. See, you're the reason.
Button that says
you're the smart guy.
Boom.
You want me to do it or you?
Oh, it's all you.
Oh, okay. Well,
more energy,
ladies and gents, get your freaking headbands ready because next episode we are going to have the one, the only Tim Goldman coming on. So if you do have any questions or anything like that you want to have, leave them on the voicemail for next episode. It is going to be a very fun one, I think.
Yes. We'll be able to chat with Timmy, recap the season from his perspective, as well as maybe get a little bit about his soccer story.
Real question is going to be, where is he? Where in the world is Tim Goldman next weekend? Because he already told us his plans. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully he's got good signal.
Yeah. But that's what we've got coming up. Obviously, we'll still have to do some postseason wrap up with a little bit more detail after that. I'm not going to push to do an episode a week after this, though. Maybe every other for a little bit until the playoffs are done, and then we can do like a free agent one. And if we can get other players, I am completely open to doing an episode a month over the summer.
I definitely don't see at this point, necessarily why not. I mean, it would be a nice thing to tide you all over.
Yeah. Tim Goldman next week. Be ready because it's going to be sensational.
I hate that you did that. I love it at the same time.
If you don't know why he hates and loves it, go to our TeePublic store, tpublic.com/keeperscornerpod. There is a sensational design featured around Tim Goldman. You can see it for yourself, and if you like it, you can buy it as a t-shirt, as a tote, as a wall hanger, as any one of numerous things.
Don't you use me as a sales pitch? How dare you?
Sometimes I have good segues.
You know what? I'll give you that one. That one was good. All right, now I'll give it to you. I don't like it, but I'll give it to you.
All right, Brandon, is there anything else you'd like to add tonight?
I guess I'm just going to kind of give a closing thing for Utica for the season. It was definitely a tough season. It was a roller coaster. It definitely, obviously sucks. We didn't make the playoffs, but the second half of the season just showed the power of this team. Just showed what this team can do when everything comes together. You know, you've got the players trusting each other, trusting their coaches, you know, the coaches being on point for everything that they need to do, and just overall coming together as a team. And, you know, it just shows what they could do, even with just basically a bunch of rookies. You know, a bunch of rookies with a bunch of veterans. I mean, it was just a stellar second half of the season, and absolutely enjoyed the ride. So from me personally, and I can probably speak for at least Michelle, that, you know, I just want to say thank you to all of the players for busting their butts on the second half of the season. And I mean, the first half too, but more so the second, just busting their butts in general for this season. You know, definitely want to say thank you to Coach Hall. You know, it was a stellar season, and frankly, Utica is very lucky that, you know, Coach Hall was there to bring this team back from the brink. Just awesome, and wouldn't have it any other way. But overall, just great season, and looking forward to the next.
Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty well. Obviously, we don't know how things are going to go going into next season, who's going to leave in free agency, who will get brought in, who will get drafted. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Ryan Hall's contract is up with the end of this season. That was a 3-year extension signed after the 2018-2019. So we really have no idea what direction this team is going, but given the second half, I don't see why you wouldn't stay the course. Like, the ship was righted. Just ride that momentum next year.
Kind of what I'm saying.
That's for Rob Esch and Tommy Tanner and anyone else involved at that to sit down and decide. Because, you know, like I said at the midway point, if I was Esch, both Tommy and Hall would have been on the hot seat, but I don't know. He had faith in them to stick it out through the season, and it looks like it paid off.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you could see there's a huge difference from, you know, the first half of the season to the second half. I mean, they stepped it up. Everybody stepped it up. You know, yes, you could attribute most of it to the players, but at the same time, clearly the coaching direction changed in some way that was favorable for the players.
Mm-hmm.
Because talent can only take you so far. You need the strategy.
Yeah. That's where I like to point at my Yankees and their failure to reach the World Series since 2009. And a coach that a large portion of the fan base wanted fired. A GM that a large portion of the fan base wanted fired. And yet both of them are still there.
The way I see it is that, I mean, we had one good season. First season, inaugural season, great season.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the playoffs. Granted, we got eliminated in the first round, but we made it. We made it to the show. Second season, the season that didn't really get to see where we were going to go, but it was a good season for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then this season started really bad, but came back. And that really just speaks to the long break that we had, you know, and the player turnover and, you know, the slew of things that we had to wade through between fans, coaches, players, everything.
Yeah,
just it was a heck of a season in general.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. We won't know until we know. And when we know, we'll cover it and put out an episode.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right. Until then, look forward to joining us next week for Tim Goldman. I'm sure that one's going to be a riot. And it might even be our most listened to episode ever.
I mean, what? It has to beat our other episode with Brian Hall.
Yes, it has to beat that one where he came on and laid down the law about what was going on with COVID.
The law.
But hey, that's what it is. Thank you for sticking with us this season. Thank you for listening. All of our plugs are after this. That'll tell you where to find us on social media. And until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brandon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. If that podcast app also has reviews, be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.